everyone. Welcome to Career Lunch Break. I'm Erin Lewber, your host. I am here for version 2.0 with Shane Arthur yet again because we had so much fun last time. We thought we'd do it again. And we were just laughing and counting down on our way into this because we said we're not going to do the whole tell me about who you are and your background. So if you want to know who Shane is, go listen to the other podcasts because we're not doing that here. Hi, Shane.
Hey, Erin, what are we going to do today?
So when I'm going to ground everybody in this. So when Shane and I were chatting, we said, hey, we felt like we were just getting into the groove of things and we could do another whole hour, but maybe a little bit less interview style, a little bit more just me and Shane hanging out, talking about some stuff. So he said to me, why don't you start with a story? So I think I'll start with a story. And the story goes like this. I worked with someone at one point and they, were great. They were a great member of the team. They were doing a great job, great ideas. And long story short, things didn't work out and they ended up not working at the organization anymore. And I would say it was kind of a heartbreaking situation of like how they came
Mhm.
to not work there anymore. So face value on paper, you'd be like, that was a really bad thing that happened. Like they were
Mhm.
rowing the
Mhm.
boat, things were going along, everybody was fine. And then bam, it wasn't, they didn't work there anymore. And the reaction that I think most people would have, it would be like, well, dang, that really messed everything up. That didn't work out the way
Mhm.
we thought. Fast forward to some time after that, I ended up, staying in touch, talking to this person, and they were telling me about all these things that they were doing. They were working on this new project and they had had these conversations with these people who heard what happened to them. And as they were going through, I sat there and I went, there's something to this. And not to be roses and sunshine, but sometimes when the most garbage things happen in our lives, it's actually this weird gift of like, the universe, God, something kicking you in the butt and saying, go do something else. Because otherwise, you would have stayed there and kept rowing the boat for another one
Mhm.
year, 3 years, 10 years. And I've had that even happen in my own life. When I left my family's business, I thought I was inheriting that. And I guess for people who don't know, I grew up in a family business. I worked there all through college. I was studying under my dad basically to take
Mhm.
over this grocery business. And it was a decent, 30, $40 million a year business.
Mhm.
And, it didn't work out for, I mean, maybe that's a whole other podcast episode. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is the end of everything. And it actually
Mhm.
was the start of everything.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, we always want to be careful when we're talking about people leaving jobs or losing jobs.
Yeah.
I do think that, one of the things my mentor told me 15 years ago was, usually when it's time for someone to leave that works for you, it's actually time for them to leave. It's not a good fit anymore. And folks may very seriously need a paycheck and they may not want to move on, but there's something there about calling, at least in that season, that is off. And usually it's the job of the supervisor to make that call.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's an interesting thing that you bring up because it's a weird work is weird that way, right? Because it
mhm.
serves these two
Yep.
very different purposes. One is like it gives you money. And so
Mhm.
most of us need to go to the place to get the money so that
Yes.
life. But
Right.
then there's this piece about what you're doing when you're there and what your gifts
Mhm.
are and how
Yeah.
fulfilled you are and if it still fits the version of you now that it did 5 years ago and all of that. And I
Mhm.
think that's, as a leader, I think that's a really interesting, maybe even conversation that, we could have when you think about really
Mhm.
being a great leader and sitting down with your reports and just saying like, hey, I know like job work, money, yes, but like also bigger picture vision for you as a person, as a professional,
Mhm.
as someone who's going through space on this
Mhm.
globe rock planet that we're on doing some stuff. What does it all mean? And like, is this still the right thing for you? Is it still scratching the right itch?
Yeah, I mean, that's like next level supervisory work there, right? But I think really helpful. I think about the people that left teams that I worked on. People tend to leave a year or two too late, in my experience. And if we were regularly putting that out there, having that open conversation, we know that jobs end. We know that people transition away from roles. We don't want to retain everyone forever, right? Like it's a season and it works, but it's got to be a safer conversation. And I'm not quite sure how to deal with the power dynamics in that at play. Um, But I do think it's a very real thing helping people understand. You know some of my story. I worked in the nonprofit space for 20 years and I loved the work and I made good enough money. And now I run my own business and I experience the same, if not more degree of impact through what I do. And I still make good money. But to have stayed in the old role for the last 7 years would have been a huge miss. Because that
Yeah.
season was over,
Yeah.
right? I wasn't failing in anything. I was a top performer when I left, but there was a new season coming that I really couldn't see yet.
Do you ever think about, like, to that point, you were doing very well in your old role before you made this,
Mhm.
that shift. Do you ever
Yeah.
think about, like, what would my life be like right
Mhm.
now
Yeah.
had I stayed there?
Yeah.
Like, what's
Uh,
the pros and what's the
mhm.
cons? Or, I'm so curious.
Yeah. Well, the pro would have been predictability. I've been in the organization for 18 years. It was a good setup across the board with peers and people above me, and the finances worked out, and I had a great team, and we loved what we were doing. I think all that would have continued. I'm sure there would have been bumps, but it was a good career. I would have expected it to have continued. Don't think about it very often anymore. I think because I enjoy what I'm doing now. I think if I didn't, I would look back
Hmm.
and probably miss all the good things that came with that role. But if we'd met in 2018, I would have had no clue what was coming for me in my new work.
Hmm.
So I think a little bit less about the cost or what I would have left behind. It was a lot. Like it was a great career that I'm really proud of. But I don't think about it very often. And I do think that's because this season has been so powerful and positive.
Yeah. What if you would have stayed? What would have been the biggest benefit to us staying? Like, had you
The
stayed
biggest
there?
benefit, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. Good question. The biggest benefit would have been security. I would have gotten the same paycheck at the end of every month. That would have been amazing. Side benefit would have been I had a great team. I worked with a truly great team, and I wish that I still worked with some of them. Right, like that was a huge positive. And I probably would have kept moving up. There were more roles ahead of me in the org chart that I think I would have likely transitioned into at some point, and that would have been uh, new opportunities for sure, at least new people to work with. But it all did still feel incremental. Like in that organization, you were just always taking your boss's job when they left it, right? And so it was a very sequential thing that worked really well. But it would have taken um,
Right.
a lot of surprises for me to have to navigate. Um, all the new things
Hmm.
that I've had to navigate in starting a business. That's the part that I don't think I would have found there. Um,
Yeah.
and the biggest part that I think I would have missed.
Yeah. To that point, I think like that. I don't remember if you said stability or security or if, like, that
Mhm.
predictability.
Yes.
I know we always picture those words as like good things, right? Because it means
Mhm.
safe.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I mean, I imagine you have to be even a better version of yourself today because you don't have that, right? Like somebody took those guardrails off and said,
Yeah.
Shane,
Yeah.
you're not looking at the person in front of you saying, well, when
That's
they
right.
retire,
That's
I'm
right.
gonna, move
Totally.
up into the. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's giving you more of like you're out on a ship in the middle of the ocean.
That's right.
Where are you going?
Yes. Yes. And so much of that is because that security was actually false, right? It was just an experience security, same paycheck, 18 years, right? Um, we lived through COVID. After that, we've living through all the layoffs that are happening again now. Um, yeah, and my faith background, like it was a false security. Like it wasn't. We're not made to trust in organizations and paychecks. Um, but it sure got comfy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a weird thing that we think about the trade-off of like for security. I don't even know how I want
Hmm.
to say this. Like you perceive security by having the consistency of the
Hmm.
paycheck, the space, the
Sure.
environment, but
Yeah.
it's your greatest disadvantage. I remember like being at my family's business. So I started working there when I was 13 years old. And my dad believed in you start by washing the dishes. Like I didn't walk in
Hmm.
as like a family member who got to do any of the important things. Like he was like, get into
Right.
the butcher shop and go wash the
Yeah.
dishes for all the meat pans and stand back
Hmm.
there and your hands were gross and all that kind of stuff. And as I moved up through that and learned all of those things, there were a lot of gifts that came from that, But I had this idea that I was just gonna stay there forever, and
Mhm.
I learned a lot while I was there.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
and those things have carried with me, but it's like I say the term nose blind. I don't know if you've ever seen the Febreze commercial where they talk about you get nose blind to your own house. And it's supposed to be like an
Okay.
ad for Febreze. Like you walk into your house and your
Yeah.
house smells like a dog, but you don't know it because you live there.
Sure.
And
Febreze. Yep.
that is like a thing that I find myself talking with people about so much. And even for myself,
Mhm.
it's something that I realize you get nose blind and that idea of security or stability, or
Mhm.
the space
Yeah.
around you. And it's like you're standing in the middle of stuff that you could make so much better if you had a fresh perspective, or you would approach differently if
Mhm.
you like if I went back to that store today, I could think of nothing short of 50 things that I'd go in and be like, do
Yeah.
this, do this, do this, do
Right.
this. And when I was there,
Yes.
none of those things occurred to me. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure where that all comes together for like a neat bow of a point, but
Mhm.
there's something really interesting about the perception of security and stability versus the things you're foregoing staying in that space. The things that you're not giving yourself the opportunity to see with that fresh set of
Mhm.
eyes or that fresh nose, that you're not nose blind to the environment around you.
Yeah. Yeah, and in your story, you're talking more about that location, and I think for our conversation, we're talking more about ourselves and what we're forgoing in not being put in new situations where maybe we don't know the rules, and maybe, my story, I've never sold a thing in my life. Um, but the things that we learn, I think, that's the game changer for me. Like, that's the part I wouldn't trade for anything is, every once in a while, somebody hears my story for the first time, and there's a conversation about, "Oh, you started a business from scratch, and it worked, and you love it." And I take that for granted most days, right? Like, I'm always thinking about what's next. Um I take for granted what's actually happened. And when suddenly, when you need to do a major renovation on your house and you need to make some money pretty quickly. Like, that's an option in a way that never would have crossed my mind 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Or like when I get really stuck on something. So here's what running my business taught me that I did not learn in the nonprofit sector. Um, when you get really stuck on something, pick up the telephone and call someone that cares about you, that's an expert in their field, and they will do anything to help you. Right? When I worked in a large organization, I was taught to call someone within the organization. And now I've learned I can just call people and they will always give me 15 minutes and help me answer this question about real estate or tax or all these things I don't understand. I'm not trapped. Like, I'm not alone. Um, there's so many people out there that want to help us as we try to do stuff. That's a big takeaway for me. Um, that feels fresh in a fresh way.
Why, so many people are afraid to do that or think I hear it a lot. I have a lot of people who will reach out to me or say, I'm so sorry for asking this. Or, I'll be having a
Mm-hmm.
conversation and they'll say, well, I don't want to bother somebody. Or
Hmm. Yeah.
why are so many people afraid to do what you just
Yes.
described?
Great question. Why was I afraid to do that? Why am I still afraid to do that sometimes?
So you're still afraid.
Um,
You're still afraid to do
yeah.
it and you do it.
Only on Tuesdays.
Okay, perfect.
Um, I do. I think there's something about. I think there is something about we're expected to figure things out ourselves. Especially for leaders, people that are strategic and make decisions and solve problems all day long for others. Um, there comes this false belief that we can only rely on ourselves. Um, and the flip side is true, right? Like, the worst days I have are when somebody that I love tells me about something that I could have helped them with, but I didn't know it was happening.
Yeah.
They didn't call, and I don't want to shame them in that moment, but that's all I'm thinking is, why didn't you call? And I've been that guy. Like, I went through one significant, challenging season in my previous profession.
Hmm.
And 6 months after it all wrapped up, I was having dinner with one of my best friends, and our wives were there. And Dawn said, just tell them the story. They opened another bottle of wine, and I told the whole story. Uh, and they were empathetic and they asked good questions. And my buddy finally looked at me and he said, Shane, this problem you faced was exactly what my area of expertise is. Why didn't you call me? And the best I've been able to answer that question for him, even in the years since that we've talked about it, is I was so here. I was so focused on getting through the next day and doing the next thing that
Mhm.
the idea of looking through my phone for who could help me, it just never crossed my mind. Like the stress level was so high. I wonder how often that's true for people.
Yeah. It's funny, I was having that conversation earlier today, actually. I was talking well, shoot. I was talking to someone who I work with, and I was talking about myself because I'm in this process of I've sold my house, I'm moving, I've got a lot juggling,
Mhm.
it's summer, the kids are out of school, there's all these things going on, and it's like
Yep.
you do find you get yourself into this tunnel vision and my this is the
Mhm.
dumbest thing. My whole conversation was around I got overwhelmed trying to go hire somebody to help me with my kids because there was so much going on. It was like I got over I couldn't get the thing done to help myself
Yes,
because I
that's
was
right.
so busy being overwhelmed because I need
Yes.
help.
Yes, that's right.
And
That story, I think I'm just shocked if there's a listener that hasn't experienced that in some
yeah,
capacity in the last couple of weeks. Like that is real life as a professional and a parent and somebody taking care of parents. Like there's just so many things going on right now.
yeah, yeah,
It's funny, like we have a new friend in the neighborhood that we've been getting to know, and he was talking to me about life, and he just sounded very organized, but I enjoyed him, so he wasn't organized himself by nature, right? Like I'm not organized, and the more I ask, and he finally said, "Shane, look, full disclosure, my wife and I have a standing meeting on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. And she preps the meeting and she leads the whole meeting, but it is looking at the next 3 weeks of our lives and all the decisions we need to make, and it works." He's like, "We could never do that on a Sunday night. There's never time after bedtime." And we finally just said, "We're both professionals. Put a Teams meeting on the calendar." And now we do it,
yeah,
and that's a great example of where neither of them needed a coach, right? They needed a structure that could aid them in their decision making. And he thankfully had a spouse who was dynamite at building that structure and running it every week.
yeah,
Because that feeling of overwhelm is,
yeah.
I think about how many decisions we try to make in a given day. It's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even in that case of sitting down and we arrived this more, earlier today, we arrived at this conversation. We were checking in and talking about a bunch of different stuff. And it kind of went the way,
Hmm.
how are you and what's going on and how are you and what's going
Yeah,
on
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And we both ended up just talking about some of the things that we're feeling like big mountains right now.
Hmm. Yep.
And
Yep.
it's funny how just having that conversation, it's like a pressure valve, even when you just
Yes.
need to
Absolutely.
when you can verbalize and like externalize that with someone else, whether it's a
Hmm.
coach, whether it's a friend, whether it's a spouse or a
Yep.
partner, like,
Hmm.
sometimes it's like you need to put that stuff on the table. And for someone else who's not carrying that, they could look at that and go, oh, this, and this is super easy for me.
Yeah.
And the thing
Right.
that you were carrying, like this 10,000-pound backpack for someone else, was like a little
Hmm.
speck of dust. And they're like, oh, I got you. Don't worry about
Yeah,
that. That's
that's right.
easy.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh,
And it is the season. I mean, I was on a call with a client the other day and always starts with some pleasantries. He asked how I was doing. And the only thing that came to mind was, yeah, we're trying to plan the summer. We got a couple of camps set up, but we've got a lot of weeks with no plans right now. And he just busted out laughing. He's like, "Shane, I actually need to talk to you today about helping my wife and I plan our summer. Like I am deep in it and I'm stuck." And I was like, "That's amazing." He's like, I'm so
yeah.
glad there's alignment on emotions right now."
Yeah, maybe all the parents are doing this right now, it sounds like, where we're
I
we're just
think
kinda
so.
going, "Huh, summer's here,"
Yes,
you
I
know?
think that is happening for many of us right now.
Well, I don't know, it always figures out, that's for sure. And, I mean, I have a friend who, in, like, February and March, she's planning out, the camps every week, and she's got the whole agenda, like,
Mhm.
that's
Yep.
on my vision board of being
Yes,
that
one day.
someday where I will have,
Yes.
like, pieces of yarn stringing together
Yeah.
weeks and
Uh-huh.
children and where they are, but, I mean,
Yes.
we're not there today.
Yes. We're not there today. And I will say, like, similar to, like learning things, right? Starting a business and learning how to sell and learning how not to get paid every month. We have a couple of those weeks coming up in our summer. And it has been interesting how my wife will strike up a conversation with another mom at the pool and they'll kind of figure out, oh, next Thursday, we could all do this. Or simply talking within our community, we realize, oh, there's a couple of easy solutions that could cover, some 4 or 5 hour windows a couple of days that would really give us some breathing room. And I don't think that, at least in my culture, that's new for me. I tend to lean more independent. We
Mhm.
will pay for camps or plan a
Mhm.
vacation or occasionally take our kids to our mom's house for a week
Yeah.
for some grandma
Yeah.
time, right? But outside of that, like the idea of doing things with other folks, even kind of ad hoc, even like, oh, next Thursday we're doing a big thing. Why don't you just drop your kids off at my house and you can have a day to go work? Like that level of shared community and support of each other is I don't experience a lot of that. That feels new to me.
Yeah, this one has been actually coming up for me a lot, and maybe it's, I solo parent, and
Hmm.
so for me, having to get creative on, how do you solve for the fact that, you've got these little humans that,
Yes.
need to be entertained or watched or supervised or whatever we want to call it, and uh, uh,
Hmm.
all of it keeps coming back to this idea of one telling somebody, like saying out loud what's
Hmm.
going on, and like
Yeah,
and this
that's
is
right.
no different than, like, to bring this back to, like, even job search. I always tell people, like,
Uh-huh.
tell people with, like, your mouth, like, tell people what you're trying to do, because if you don't say out loud what you're trying to do, nobody else is going to get that spark and go, oh, well, I could help you.
Yeah, yeah.
But then this bigger idea of community and
Mhm,
looking to your community. I have a mom friend who sounds kind of like Dawn and the mom at the pool, and they were kind of talking, and
mhm,
it's my son's friend's mom, and I would say we're very similar mom energy. Like we just get along well. She's a super cool
mhm.
woman, and like we're chill with one another. Like I
Like
can
you. Yeah, I get
like
it.
I
Super cool. Yeah.
we yeah, we like, I can invite my kid to her house and be like, "Hey, Jamie,
Mhm.
can Colton come spend the night at your house
Yeah,
tomorrow or this weekend?" And I mean, and
right.
I know she will tell me no if it's a legit no, like
Yeah,
it's not a weird
right.
imposition, and she could do the same for
Sure.
me. And
Uh-huh.
finding that, whether it's for kids, whether it's in
Mhm.
your life, I think
Yes.
that finding people where you can just say the thing out loud that you're
Mhm.
needing, and they're like,
Yes.
"Oh, yeah, I got you." And also,
Mhm.
like, if I can't have you, like, this time and help you, I can tell you that
Mhm.
too. And like, we've got that trust.
Right, right. Yeah, I feel the same way. We went to the beach Memorial Day with some friends, and it's legitimately the first time we've taken a vacation. We moved to Raleigh
Hmm.
18. It's the first time we've taken a vacation with someone we've met since we moved here. And I've always said, gosh, I want to make more friends that we vacation with. Because
Hmm.
we have college friends we vacation with, right? We have friends from all walks of life that we will take trips with. But we've been back in the triangle for 8 years. And this Memorial Day was the first time that we went away for a long weekend with another family that we really enjoy. And it felt like, oh, this is what I'm longing for, is knowing, we spend a lot of time with these people. They're going to parent my kids during that weekend. I'm going to parent their kids. That's going to be just fine, right?
Yeah.
There's enough alignment there that we're going to have a great time. We had a great time.
Yeah.
But like that level of relationship, and we've moved a lot. So I'm sure that's part of it. Another thing that we talked about this on the trip, just how special it was. But we ended up talking about like families of origin and where we had lived, and part of mine and Dawn's story is that our parents are divorced, and so there haven't been a lot of extended family trips. And a lot of our friends in Raleigh that we've met have parents who stayed together who are both still alive, and there's regularly a trip on their calendar with their brothers and sisters. And
Yeah.
I'm a bit jealous of that, and just recognize that we have a little more open space when it comes to vacations.
Yeah.
Whereas they're often saying, well, we're going to go with her family here and we're going to go with my family here. And maybe we can fit something in. And they're not being unkind, right? Or even
Right.
not wanting to spend time with us. But that's just a norm in their calendar right now. That's just not true for us.
Yeah. We're talking about these things, and as I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I don't know what your read on this is, but I've had a few conversations recently, one with a family member, one with a friend, where people have arrived at a very similar statement lately of things feel hard, life feels
Mm.
hard,
Hmm. Yep.
and the scenarios were each a little different, but
Hmm.
that statement of it feels hard, And
Mhm.
that's where I when I'm thinking about this now, or I'm hearing you talk about, you take a, a trip with another family and you're kind of watching each other's kids and stuff. I think there's this real call to getting back to community in a real analog kind of way. And
Hmm, mhm.
we have a lot of community online. And I think there's some lovely benefits. You and I wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for digital online community. However, it's so accessible and easy to tap into your digital
Mhm.
communities, but
Yes.
it also makes it that much easier to skip over your analog, your localized, the people
Yes.
around you who you can surround
That's
yourself
right.
with. And maybe you almost do get a little nose blind to those people. Like your hairdresser is part of your analog community. And you sit
Mhm.
down and you have those discussions and you walk away. I sat with my hairdresser the other night and we were talking about how I went
Mhm.
to a yoga and sound bath thing. And I did this. It's just been something on my bucket list. It's very woo woo. I wanted to do
Sure.
it. And she's like,
There's no judgment here.
I would love to do that. And I was like, well, we should go together,
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
those kind of connections in life, I think we need
Yes.
more of that. I think we need more of
Yes.
that.
Yeah, and I again, I'm always reminded that LinkedIn sponsors this podcast, so I say this gently, but
They
it
do
is
not sponsor this podcast yet. Yet.
it is yet it is so easy to grab our phone and hop on LinkedIn, see what's going on, throw up a post, see if anybody engages with it. I think about times when we were at a swim meet last night, and for some reason my phone didn't work. There's just no cell phone service at this pool. And
Mm,
so 5 hours went by. I got nothing. I wasn't looking at anything. I wasn't texting anybody. I wasn't even telling my mom what was going on at the swim meet, right? I was so present. I was open to having conversations with random parents that I barely know because I couldn't go text somebody that I know really well,
right.
you know?
Right. Right.
I'm intrigued by forcing ourselves to be a little more open-minded for some, I think, scarier. And you and I are active enough online now that it's not as intimidating as it once was.
Yeah.
Versus me saying hi to a dad at a swim meet that I've seen 10 times. I don't know what his name is. We've never talked before, but I don't have anything else to do. And so I got to have a great conversation with a guy for 20 minutes who happens to have a daughter on my daughter's swim team. Like that's part of the gift that I think I miss it all the time, playing on my phone or checking on something that's super easy.
Well, because I mean, you can scratch that itch. We all have this need for connection, but there's this like simulated connection in that you can hop online, you can do a thing, you get the dopamine or
Mhm.
whatever, it is that
Sure.
happens, and you're like, yeah, okay, I,
Yep.
interacted. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I went to a Joe Rogan comedy show a few years ago, and they had like those sleeves that you have to put your cell phone in because they didn't want
Yeah.
anybody
Uh-huh.
recording, and it like
Yes. That's right.
magnets shut or whatever it
Yep.
does, so nobody at the entire
Mhm.
place could have a cell phone. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, remember when you went to the bathroom and then you had to tell
Totally.
somebody, 'Meet me by this
Yes.
post when you come out?' And then
Yes.
you'd have to
That's right.
find them and use your eyes and look
Mhm.
around and find them when
That's
you
right.
got done." And
Yes.
Shane, it was kind of like when you're watching a movie, and I don't know if you've ever seen a scene in a
Mhm.
movie where like something is happening and then they turn off the like control mechanism and everybody kind of wakes up and goes, "Whoa, what's happening?" It was like we
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
opened our eyes and you just saw everyone's heads
Mhm.
lifted up and people were interacting with one another who didn't know each other, and you had to "Oh, sorry, I'm looking for somebody." And just that little like it's not even conversation, but it was engaging and
Mhm.
interacting.
Yes.
And I mean, the comedy show was fine, but I remember walking
Mhm.
out of that being like, wow, that felt good.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
like, I mean, this has nothing to do with job search really, or any of the stuff that I talk about all the time online, but I think there's just this really big opportunity to like go against the way that the river is pulling everyone in the current. It's like,
Mhm.
you go online, there's path of least resistance, you got a phone in your hand, you can chirp online with some stuff, but like put that thing down, go find some
Mhm.
people, interact with some humans,
Yes.
find some friends, talk to
Yes.
your kids, friends, parents. There's just
Mhm.
like, I'm really interested in this idea of like having a richer life of interaction with the people around me and
Yes.
the wholeness that that brings
Yes.
to ourselves
Mhm.
because I think we're missing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I say this gently because I haven't struggled with obesity, but with what's going on with the obesity drugs right now. Everyone was predicting that obesity was going to be completely out of control in America in the next decade. And now there's some real questions about that, right? We don't know what the side effects are going to be, but something has dramatically changed in the last few years. And my guess is that the next time we're going to feel the same thing is going to be around technology. It is going to feel out of control. It is going to be taking up so much of our lives that there's going to need to be a drug or a detox or something that we can mass
Yeah.
produce. Because I think we're losing that thing that we all really long for. Uh,
Yeah, and I don't know that we long for it, like, it's always it historically, it has been a thing that has existed,
mhm.
so it's like air, you
That's right.
didn't inspect it or say it's an important
Yes, that's
oxygen
right.
is deeply important to our lives, however,
Yes,
you don't look at it
that's
every
right.
day and go, "Oh, thank goodness for the oxygen."
Totally.
Um,
Yes, that's right.
but, I've even started to see online, and you see this, I've seen this more, it like the things are always posted in Europe, so you can't go to
Mhm,
them. But, there are these like analog, digital
mhm.
free kind of like
Yep,
people come together,
right.
strangers in community, and it's
Mhm.
like bring your books, bring your board games,
Yeah,
bring a sketch pad,
yeah.
just chill. And it's just people being in the same space together and being present in that space.
Mhm,
And I think it's still on the fringe of seeming a bit woo. And I've never thought of myself as a woo woo kind of person, but it does. It seems to speak to something that I don't know that we all know we're missing just yet, or we haven't quite put our
mhm.
finger on the fact that
Yeah,
this is what's missing
that's
or
right.
are an important part of my life and my whole
Mhm.
person well-being. But I think it's a
Yes.
big part of it.
Well, and we don't know how to integrate it, right?
Yeah.
We can do a retreat, we can go to a Joe Rogan show, but we don't know how to integrate that back into normal life. And, we've seen all the stuff online. You can buy the brick, which locks up your phone. And, people
Yeah.
are going towards flip phone. Like, I'm intrigued by all these ideas. None of them are attractive to me,
Me either.
but I'm intrigued that a market is building
Right.
around this is a problem. We know it's a problem. Um,
Yeah.
we're fighting for solutions. And I think we're fighting to own it's a problem, right?
Yeah. Why are you and I both just said all that, and then we said, well, there's like you can turn the brick thing, or you can get a flip phone, and you're like, I'm not drawn to those
Mhm.
things, and I'm like, yeah, me either. Like, I don't want those.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
not drawn to those things.
what is?
They seem strange to me.
Yeah.
The closest thing I've gotten to recently is I paid for that extra whatever thing that Verizon sells you so that your watch will work when it's not near your phone. And so now I can take a run and somebody can text me and it will still come in. And so that's the first thing I'm really trying is, my addiction is largely to my phone. And whether it's checking email or checking LinkedIn or texting people, like all that is done really easily on a phone. None of that is done easily on a watch. But I'm like you, I have kids. Like I have to be reachable, period. Um, and so I'm curious, could that ever work? Could I ever just wear a watch that could only, text and call? Just leave the phone at home most days.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I'm dreaming of it,
I
as a possibility.
think you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off and try it.
Yeah, I don't really like that. I'm very controlling and like to have all options at my fingertips
Well,
at all times.
if it goes that badly, you could go back. You could break the
I
glass and
really
go
could.
back to your phone and
I really could.
you
It's an option.
I got rid of my
It's an
Apple
option.
Watch. I got rid of my Apple
Did
Watch.
you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have everyone makes fun of me because I have a like
Uh-huh.
a Casio or whatever it is. It's
Nice.
like it's
Yeah.
got the button that you like push to turn the light
Mhm.
on, and you have to keep holding
Yeah.
the button to make the light stay on. It doesn't even like
That's
persistently
awesome.
stay on for 10 seconds
Yeah.
afterwards. So, we'll be
Yeah.
out walking and someone will be checking their steps and I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me check mine too," on my
So
Casio.
hilarious.
But I got sick of my
Yes.
phone or my watch, like, telling me stuff, and finally I was like, that
Mhm.
watch has to go." So, I went away from the
Yep.
watch,
Yeah, interesting.
um, but I mean, yeah, I don't know what my solve is, but I keep looking at flip phones, and I'm like, "Well, we a flip phone
Yep.
used to be good enough." Isn't that interesting that a
Yes.
flip phone
Yeah.
was
It's
great,
funny.
but I
It's funny, and you know what I've read about people that do flip phones is the extra bonus is that texting on them is so hard
Yeah.
that they end up just calling people more.
Yeah.
I was like, wouldn't that be amazing? Like I've
Yeah.
got a couple of my friends were talking openly about, hey, let's stop scheduling calls with each other. Let's just call when we want to talk. So that was really interesting because I
Yeah.
wasn't a texter until we had smartphones.
Yeah.
Um, and
I remember
I
rolling
couldn't.
my eyes at that. I remember my cousin, I mean, this was however many years ago, but my cousin's a little younger than me and he was texting and I was like, that is the dumbest thing in the world. Like, why would you type
Yeah,
something on a phone if you could just
right.
call somebody? That's never going to catch on.
Yeah. I wonder what that is. Like, what is that makes us text and forget about like just information transfer? Like, I understand that. Like, we need milk.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But there is something. I send a lot of text messages. I stay in touch with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder what it is that we're so quick to do that instead of calling somebody and talking to them for a few minutes.
The theory. I think it's you get the reward with less friction, right? You get the reward of I've interacted, I've communicated with somebody, right? I've
Mm,
sent you
yep.
the how are you,
Yep.
Shane? But
Yeah. Right.
I did that and I'm on to the next thing. And some of that is the pace
Mm,
at which,
yeah.
I don't know how you slow down in this world because I feel like it's speeding up and maybe
Hmm.
that's just me being an old person saying that. But um the slowness required to make a phone call, it's a two-way dialogue. If I pick up the phone and I say, "Hi, Shane, how are you?" I have to sit down in a chair and be prepared to hear how you're
Hmm.
doing versus I fire
Yeah. Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
"Hey, how are you, Shane?" And then I go make myself a sandwich. And at 7
Yeah.
o'clock tonight, I go back and go, huh, okay, so Shane and his family are doing well. And here's what's going,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it,
Right.
that asynchronous piece of it can be
Huh? Yeah.
attractive. But again,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's attractive.
but it's not
Yeah.
actually good for us, is my hypothesis.
Well, if that's true, then we're not just talking about LinkedIn usage, right? We are actually talking about asynchronous communication.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, my wife and her best friend have gotten really good at just calling each other when they're driving somewhere and they have 6 minutes and they've learned how to have 6 minute conversations. And no, that's what they got right now. But they're doing it all the time and they're talking all the time in a way that I don't talk to any of my friends. Uh,
Yeah.
but I probably text with 20 of them like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Would w would the interaction be different based on everything you know, like, in your life about you and your friends? Like, you text with them. If you picked up the phone and you called them,
mhm,
would it be different? And what would be different about
mhm.
it?
So I can tell you the first thing that comes to mind is that we would have to learn how to talk on the phone.
Okay.
I mean, I have a very good friend from graduate school, so we're talking 14 years ago. Um, he and I have stayed in touch for a long time. We do take trips together. We are real friends, but we have very few phone call interactions. A little bit of one-on-one text, one small group thread that we're always on, and then we'll go spend Thanksgiving with his family, or we're going to Kentucky in August to do a little bourbon tasting together. But I've started calling him, and we have to learn how to talk on the phone because
Yeah.
I don't have that experience with him. We were doing grad school together for 2 years, right? And so
Right.
that was a whole different experience. I mean, it's even like talking with a previous client, or um, if I hop on the phone with somebody that used to work for me, right? So we're used to having hour-long calls every Monday.
Mhm.
That's the easiest phone call I'm gonna have all week because we are used to talking on the phone together. Even though that was entirely a work context and this one is not at all.
Yeah.
I do think it's not just a muscle for us to learn, it's a muscle that we have to learn together.
Yeah. Does it change anything for you to that talking with the previous employee? Does it change anything when the framework around why you're talking changes? When you get on a work call and you're there to talk about work
Doesn't change
versus
anything.
no,
It doesn't change anything, Aaron. It doesn't change anything.
okay.
Not a drop. Because we developed a cadence of listening well and asking good questions of each other. It wasn't so much about the subject matter. It's just normal for me to have the AirPods in, walking around my house, talking to this person that used to work for me. Um, yeah, I don't think it's the content at all.
Okay. Okay. And so the person who you don't talk with, do you think it's just that you both haven't figured out that dance between the two of you yet? Like, how do we
Think so. Yeah. Like if I saw him at a bar tonight, we would have the best time because we have a lot of experience being in bars together. Um, we would fall into that naturally. My neighbor, my next door neighbor, we don't see each other as much as we should, but we take walks together. And so Friday morning, he and I are taking a walk around the neighborhood. Um, that's how we communicate. If he called me one day and we don't talk on the phone. We pass each other in the backyard and we make jokes about drinking beer together. But what we do is we take walks about once a quarter around our neighborhood, and it's a really sweet friendship. So I do. You've got me wondering right now about
Yeah.
these different things.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking about, is it that you need that same, like, do you need the same version of interaction with all people, or is it more looking at like your cup as a whole of many parts, and it's saying,
Hmm.
it's like a recipe. I have some people who I have these like deep
Hmm.
analog interactions with, and that fulfills that
Yes.
part of the recipe. And I have my people who I fire off a text to in a group, and that works.
Yep.
But
Yep.
and it sounds like that's more the way it goes. It's like we don't need all interactions to be the same for
No.
them to all
No.
be
No.
purposeful and meaningful in our lives.
But the question really that we're talking about is where do we want to invest more?
Yeah.
And I think we're both saying we want to invest a little more in these, what's the opposite of asynchronous? In these synchronous relationships
Yeah.
where, yeah, I want more of that.
Yeah.
I don't want, man, I don't wish I texted more people.
Yeah.
I don't have a weakness there. Um, I wish I had more real conversations with people that I really care about. That feels automatic.
That's why I started doing this, right? This
Just
podcast.
hang out with me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just wanted an excuse to hang out and talk to you. I mean, I'll
Yeah, yeah.
talk to you as often as you'll talk to me, but
I get it.
I mean,
I get it.
this started as a passion project for me, and it kind of linked to the whole career job search thing. But really, like, if I'm completely honest about why I went and did this, I want to have more conversations with people who I find interesting, who I like talking to.
Mhm.
I want to
Yep.
make something where I'm accountable to myself
Mhm.
for having conversations with people. And they're not just about work
Yeah.
or
Uh-huh.
logistics or
Yep.
the transactions that I need to accomplish through my day,
Yes.
because I've got a lot of
Yes.
transactions that I need to manage.
Right.
No
Right.
contest there. But like,
That's right.
I don't need to be talking to you for any reason today. And that's exactly why
Right.
I should be talking to you today, because
Yeah. Mm.
it's fulfilling.
Mhm.
It adds quality and material
Yeah.
to life.
Yeah, we're trying to be more intentional, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're making a choice there to
Yeah.
schedule these calls. Last time we recorded one of these, I remember saying, like, "I'm looking for more families that can be friends with our family. I'm not looking for more one-on-one friendships in Raleigh. I have a lot of those, and I love those. I'm looking for more families that wanna come to dinner and bring their kids."
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be more intentional about that. I think that's the same conversation we're having about how we manage communication.
So when we start, because we're coming up on the end of our time here already.
Yeah, we
Um,
are. Yeah, we are.
when we
We're
started,
supposed to talk about all kinds of other stuff.
but I think this really came full circle because we talked about calling. Like, you and I were using this word calling when we
Mhm.
were talking about
Yes.
getting on this
Right.
discussion today, and in a way, I think it's more of a question of like, what's calling to you right now in your life. For you,
Mm.
you're saying it's more about more family friendships and things that are
Mhm.
allowing you and Dawn and the kids to like build those connections
Mhm.
together. And
Yeah,
I've said,
that's
like,
right.
I'm looking for more of those analog, not related to
Mhm.
something that is a task. Like, these are things that I enjoy, that bring me
Yeah.
joy. Like, that's what
Yeah.
I want and what's calling to me in my life right now. And so
Yeah. Yes.
I like people to walk away with
Mm.
some like something coming from
Yeah.
this. And I think that
Yeah.
might be it, is like the question to pose to someone who's listening is like, are you
Mm.
listening to what is calling to you right now in your life? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what you need to lean into.
Mhm.
I think it's worth pausing and thinking about.
Yeah. Uh-huh. My only add to that is how, um I worked in a Christian subculture that used the word calling a lot, but they used it a little bit more around professional calling. Um, and I remember having a short conversation with a mentor about a job change, a potential job change. And he said, Shane, remember, whenever they talk in the Bible about calling, it's never just about a job. It is always about a job and a community and a family and all of these things go together. And so don't try to talk about a calling just being professional, which I think is what we wanted to do coming into this conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and we ended up going a pretty different place.
Yeah, I know. This was fat. I mean, we gotta go Rogan style on these podcasts in like 3 hours, and we maybe have a
You're the
cocktail,
host.
and we need a
Now
studio,
I'm
and
sold.
when LinkedIn sponsors me, these are the changes we're
It's
making.
coming
It's
so
it's
soon.
so
So
coming.
soon. Any day now.
Any day now. Well,
Great to be with
it
you, Erin.
yeah,
Thank you for the time.
you too, Shane. Take care.